So let's all bow in. And welcome everyone to the Buddhist Path of Awakening course.
Oh, John, co-host me?
Sure, yes, thank you. As we continue on our way through Volume 1 of the Profound Treasury of the Ocean of Dharma, Chapter 10 tonight, Chapter 10, 11, and 12. 12 is actually just a sutra we're going to, not just, but it's a sutra we're going to recite. And I'm going to start out with Chapter 10, and Derek Barry is going to talk about Chapter 11. Chapter 10 is entitled Buddha Dharma Fever. And we begin to realize that what Buddhists call samsara is an illness, mental, and that nirvana is health. And we begin to see that we can develop a discipline to go against our habitual patterns which lead us into samsara, into ill health, into habits that are not conducive to happiness and sanity. And that we can overcome these habitual patterns with our practice of meditation, specifically shamatha, which is learning how to rest the mind in tranquility, here and now, coming back from the dreams of the past and the future, which are so anxious. And also beyond that, that's the foundational practice, beyond that into vipassana. Vipassana means superior seeing, and we develop the insight that is going to take us to enlightenment itself. Only with vipassana can this happen. We must move on from shamatha, mindfulness practice, simple mindfulness. So, we've practiced and studied, and the Dharma is beginning to come clear in our minds, and we realize that shopping for other kinds of spirituality is over. We feel that we are, I hear a hissing, is that me? Let's see.
I think so.
Nope, somebody muted themselves and went away. Okay.
I did, and okay.
Now it's gone. Okay. So we're beginning to feel that we want to make a commitment to this particular discipline, that it is the one for me, for I, for us. And that really in making a commitment to this discipline, we're making a commitment to ourselves, to work on this, to work on ourselves with this particular set of tools, this path. And we begin to consider taking the refuge vow, which is a vow of commitment. The refuge vow we take, and we're making a commitment to the Buddha as an example of someone, an ordinary person who achieved enlightenment. The Dharma as the path, the explanation of the path and how we tread the path to enlightenment. And the Sangha as our community of friends and fellow practitioners with whom we travel the path. We're not asking for someone to save us at all. What we're doing is we're working on ourselves. The chapter says this, the text says, the inspiration to take this vow comes from learning how to rest your mind by practicing shamatha, which is the foundational practice. And in practicing shamatha, we achieve the three main benefits. The first is that we begin to realize, to put it mildly, how crazy we are, how much of our time we spend lost in all kinds of dreams, thoughts, which are not happy. All thoughts, even happy thoughts, are negative. Even happy thoughts have within them the tinge of this isn't going to last. And it's very specific. Well, I have to be happy, I have to do this and not that. So really all thought is negative. And we begin to realize the extent to which we're lost in thought. That's the first benefit of shamatha practice. And the second benefit is that we begin to develop the ability, the muscle, as I call it, to realize when we're lost in thought and to come back to this. We use an object of awareness to bring us back. It might be the breath, it could be a mantra, it could be anything, but we come back to awareness out of thought, anxious thought. And the third benefit is that we actually get a rest, because thought is very tiring. It's full of anxiety, wishing things were different and trying to make plans for how to make them different. And in coming back from that to this simple awareness in the present moment, awareness of an object, we get a rest. So as Organ Chowan, whose book we taught at the Westchester Buddhist Center once, Our Pristine Mind is the name of this book, he says, practicing shamatha is like having a really good nap. Now, another teacher who came to teach us at Westchester Buddhist Center before COVID, during a Q&A, I brought up the subject of shamatha, and his response was, shamatha is not meditation. And that's sort of the Buddhist, in Buddhism, really only vipassana is going to take you to enlightenment. Shamatha can't do it. But Trungpa Rinpoche regards shamatha as foundational to vipassana. You cannot practice vipassana without having developed the foundation of shamatha, which is to come back from dreaming into this solid awareness in the present moment. So it's the very basis of vipassana. He says we take refuge in order to effect our freedom. That's the motivation for taking refuge. That's the motivation for treading this path, is we're going to become free. Free of what? Free of our neurotic minds and suffering, the suffering that they entail. He says we're requesting the magic to enter our system so that we could become worthy, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha-like people. By taking refuge, you're trying to liberate yourself from basic anxiety, from samsara. That's what samsara is. It's fundamental, all-pervasive, or almost all-pervasive anxiety, and from the negativity. And we yearn for our own individual salvation at this stage of the path. You realize that you could free yourself and practice delightfully. You begin to see that possibility, which is amazing. And you find the teachings fitting, and you begin to feel very fortunate. You share the fortune with yourself and others, and you become, as Trungpa Rinpoche called it, a true refugee. That's what it means to take refuge. You become a refugee. And it's not in the sense of escaping, from something, like from war, but it's a refugee from neurosis. So when you practice shamatha, you develop strength of mind, and your connection to the Dharma. This is why we take the refuge. And there are people in this room who have already taken the refuge. When you begin to practice vipassana, you extend your awareness and see how samsara works and how ugly it is, full of deception, hypocrisy, and complete unpleasantness. It's nasty, really nasty. But when you are not practicing, you find yourself back in your old familiar prison, the world that is manufacturing samsara all the time, because it's a habit. And we relax back into that habit. We fall back into that habit, or those habits of different versions of samsara. All different kinds, worrying about money, being angry with our enemies, and coddling up to our friends, and whatever it may be. Seeking pleasure in television and food and who knows what. At first glance, you don't want to have anything to do with the samsaric world, it says, but then you realize you could take an interest in it. This is the beginning of the path. Instead of rejecting and accepting, which is samsara, You see the potential of insanity and sanity in every situation, of coming clear, of coming back into clear awareness of this and that. So even though it is unpleasant, you still want to work with the world because this is your opportunity. But what's the next step? Obviously, you should not immediately try to liberate others without first making your own commitment to the Dharma and beginning to liberate yourself. If you yourself become less of a nuisance, he says, and produce less garbage, then you can begin to help clear out somebody else's garbage. That's why you take the refuge vow. You vow that you will always clean up after yourself. How about that? That's what we're vowing. We're going to clean up after ourselves. You won't distort the world you are living in with your own contribution of pollution. So we're beginning to abjure our pollution of the world, beginning to turn away from it, to reject it, all the things that we do. He says if we cleaned up after ourselves, we could create a completely immaculate world around us. So you take the refuge vow in order to realize your own sanity. This is the motivation. And in order to make sure that you don't create chaos or harm for others. These are the two main benefits or the two main motivations of the Hinayana, the beginning stage of the path, that you want to pursue your own sanity, begin to stop being so crazy and so self-harming, and that you want to begin to stop creating harm and chaos for other people. It's a huge motivation. Also, we don't proselytize. He says you apply your sanity by means of example rather than proselytizing. So we're not trying to convert other people into our way of being, which is so suspicious, isn't it? You know, why would we want to do that if it isn't for some kind of ego aggrandizement? And a whole section here on letting go of theism, belief in the existence of God, or a God, or gods, whatever it might be. He says, when pain and dissatisfaction happen in ordinary life, one usually looks for some way to avoid or get rid of the problem, the pain and satisfaction. This produces confusion because there's no way to secure yourself, really. No way to make it just right. Instead, there is a sense of non-existence of yourself, he says, along with a quality of drama and personal heroism. That's what needs to be given up, this drama and personal heroism. He says either you want to become part of the flock or you want to become a revolutionary, neither of which is really part of the Buddhist path. Taking the refuge vow means complete commitment to the practice. And it means you're declaring yourself a non-theistic person. You're not looking for something out there to bless you and solve the problem. You're going to do it yourself because there really is nothing out there that will bless you and solve the problem. It's all imaginary. So you take refuge in the three jewels, and that's an acknowledgement that you do not commit yourself to any manufactured external authority. All external authority is manufactured by somebody's thoughts, our thoughts. You're not trying to build yourself up by associating with a god or sacred whatever, like I'm going to be a holy person. And you do not need a sacred rock, he says, or vision of God. You just sit and practice meditation, watching the breath, being aware. So simple. As you practice, you realize that your psychology and your physical situation, both mind and body, are interconnected. It feels so painful to have to sit still, doesn't it? The boredom. But you continue to practice until finally it is like waking up, even better than waking up, he says. You can just sit and sit. After a while, you see the boredom, which is hot in the beginning. Hot boredom. I don't want to be here. I need some entertainment. I want to turn on the TV. Maybe I should go have a hamburger, whatever it is. And we sit there, and when the boredom is hot, but eventually it becomes cool boredom. And that cool boredom is built on confidence, the confidence that you can just be with yourself, relaxed, simple. That doesn't mean that it isn't moments of irritation aren't in there too. But basically, you begin to feel more and more solid on your cushion or on your chair, wherever you're sitting. He says, finally, it is like waking up, even better than waking